Yo,
Joe.
what's up, dude?
What's up, man? Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, you
Good
too.
to see you.
Oh man, this is the victory lap, right?
Yeah.
From a crazy. I guess it was what last week,
Yeah,
last weekend.
Saturday. Yeah, man.
But yeah, I know for some people, I haven't done this in like a couple weeks, maybe almost a month now. I think it's been a while since I've done another podcast, but welcome back. With my boy Lucas here. Pretty happy, hyped to have him here. But yeah, we do this thing live. Just Jojo on Twitch. You can come drop a follow. Got questions? We're gonna be talking about kind of weird shit. So sure, if we bring up something that you're like, oh man, I want to know more about that, or like what do they mean by that? That's what Twitch chat is for. We're gonna have that up live so we can pop back and forth between our normal conversation and whatever you want to ask about. So we bounce back and forth between that. But first of all, Lucas, we had quite a weekend.
Had some fun.
Had some fun. Yeah.
A little bit of violent fun.
A little bit of violent fun, dude.
Yeah.
So this is a first for me,
Mhm.
and that was your like what?
That's my 8th fight total. Yeah,
Damn.
that was my 8th like official competitive like non
Jesus.
tournament style fight. Yeah, I had four Muay Thai fights, all amateur, and then that's my 4th MMA fight.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, so did you start doing this with the intent of like, I guess I'm curious, what was the intention when you first started doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I guess how long have you been doing it? Like all
Yeah,
that fun stuff.
So I started in 2016. That's actually like March of 2016. Funny
Okay.
enough. So it's been like,
Do me a quick favor, just slide that bad boy
Yeah,
right a little
sure.
bit closer. Funny. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. It.
So I think actually March 2017 realistically. So I think it's been 5 years It's been 5 years essentially since I started training, and I got into it like with the immediate idea that like I think I can do this shit, and I want to see like what that's like, and I knew I had like an inkling to it. I've been a fan of it for like a long time, so I
Yeah.
started watching I was probably like 10 or 10 12. That was like the time that I was just like, wow, that is really cool. I think that the big inspiration for me is always George St. Pierre. So
Yeah.
like he's like that guy. I don't know. Every
It's
time
like
I
the
saw him,
fighter's fighter.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like the idea that you can be this like soft-spoken assassin type
Yep.
of thing. So I'm
Yep.
like, you assume like people have these assumptions that like fighters are gonna be these like super macho, like
Roided up.
yeah, just
Like,
like jockey kind of like
What was
wrestler style, just that like angry
Yeah.
people, and it's just I never felt like I was that archetype, but I also had this like competitive drive in me that was just like I really think I can do this and be really good at it. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
I started doing it in Scranton, PA. That's where I'm originally from.
Oh,
It's like
shit.
Northeast Pennsylvania.
Cool.
I trained there for 4 years, and like pretty much from the jump, like I started and it was like I want to compete. Like, I don't I have that like competitive drive that's just like I want to see where I stack up realistically, and
That's yeah.
it's taken years and years and years to build up that confidence. I do remember like my first Muay Thai fight, I think it was 2017, if that. So that was like in Philadelphia. I remember like the feeling of doing that, going out there. I was 4-0 in Muay Thai. I ended up winning like 170-pound amateur title back home in PA. So once I started the MMA process, I started both. I did jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai at the same time. I started in like I think it was more of like a rounded like MMA essentially.
Yeah.
Like all
So
of
like
it was-
you there was never a moment where you were like, oh, I like kickboxing, I want to do this. It was just straight like, hey, I want to get in there and do it all.
It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think I can do this. I want to see what that's like. But like knowing that I needed competitive experience, like just to get to know if I could realistically do it, because
Yeah.
I think going into like that first fight, there's always this like, I don't know, like I train, I was an athlete all throughout high school, and I played like pretty high level volleyball when I
Okay.
was younger. So, and a little bit in college. So that competitive drive just kind of led into that. Like I was a huge fan of it, and then like getting into it, I was like, oh no, this is like, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's just addicting to me.
It's what's crazy to me? I have yet to run into somebody that's like, hey, I started doing this, and I'm sure this person exists or these people exist, but
Mhm.
like they start doing this and then they're like, eh. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's one of the
okay.
yeah, no, I guess that I know of like one person now I'm thinking about it that like, but they still train. They may
Yeah.
not intend on doing it like
Right,
competitively,
Yeah.
but like they still train.
Yeah, even in like
Uh,
that hobbyist mode, there's just like so much benefit in it, and it's like the idea of like the physical aspect of it. There's like a mental aspect of it. There's that like loss of ego aspect of
Yep.
it, like, you know, the humbling experiences that everybody, you know, that we all go
You
through.
will have, like,
Yeah,
it is
like,
inevitable.
if you stay long enough, you will be
Yeah.
humbled in some aspect, you know, whether you're getting like flattened by a black belt in jiu-jitsu or like
A good teep to the stomach.
yeah,
and
nice
just,
like kick from Coach Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, feel like, oh wow, why do I do that? Oh yeah, okay, cool, cool. Yeah, no, it's good.
That I think that was like my first like, hey, people get hit here. Like
Yeah.
moment. I don't know why I thought, or I guess there's a part of me that's kind of like, hey, I want to see what highest level feels like
Yeah.
immediately. Anytime I hop into anything competitive, I'm like, what does the top of the top look like?
Yeah,
what does that feel like?
Yeah, 100%.
And I remember back before we had like the actual cage setup, we
Mhm.
had that like kind of cornered cage thing.
Yeah.
And I remember getting in there, and for whatever reason, I don't know why they let me do this, but they let me get in there.
Shout out to the jungle.
Shout out to the jungle. They it was before I don't even think I had my white band. I might have just gotten it maybe. But like they let me get in there with Coach Eric and do like 3 rounds, and I was just like, I was just like, oh yeah, this shit sucks,
Yeah, like,
but
this
I
dude's
love
jacked.
it.
Get him in there, like he can do something. Yeah.
No, that was
So
yeah.
funny.
But I remember that moment because it was very humbling. I was just like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, like
Yeah.
this is where I want to be.
Right. Yeah. I think every person that gets into martial arts has like their idea of it, and I also think like there's an outside perspective that like a lot of these guys make it look really easy. Like you see guys doing, you're like, shh. And
Sure.
I think people in general, maybe like dudes more so, but like people in general have this ideology that like I can fight. Like
Yeah.
if somebody tried to fight me, like I would do
yeah.
this, I would do this, and it's like, well, no, you wouldn't.
Well, yeah, no,
Like,
no, you would freeze.
yeah,
Like,
you
yeah,
would probably freak out and
Yeah.
do whatever. And like so there you definitely have your hotheads who are just like, I just headbutt a dude and like get into a street fight. But I don't know about you, but I've never gotten into a physical confrontation outside of competitive training that was like ever, you know, I never got into like a bar fight. I never had some guy like pick a fight with me and if I ever felt that, I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I don't want this at all. Like I have no intentions of having any type
even after like training,
More
like
so,
yeah,
actually.
I don't.
Yeah.
There's been a few, like I've had times where I was like when I was younger, like when I was in high school, I've had a couple of fights, but like
right.
not real fights once I've been an adult. Like
Yeah,
no,
you're
like
I'm
I'm like
not going to jail. For
yeah,
these
like
guys.
I'm like I'm gonna
yeah.
get arrested. Like I don't want to do it. And even more so now, I remember, right in the height of like COVID and everything, we had like a lot of different mandates going on at work. Where like, hey, all the guests had to wear masks, blah blah blah, and there were people that didn't want to wear masks. And me being the manager there, I'm the dude that
Yeah.
like has to yell with this
You
dude.
gotta,
And I remember like 2 times in particular where things were getting like escalated, and I was just like, man, come on.
we just not
Like, I don't want to deal with this,
like,
man.
dude, is it
Like-
that important to you? Yeah.
Like, dog, we're talking about cards.
Yeah,
Like
like-
trading cards. Like,
Yeah.
you're not, this is nothing here.
No.
I don't know why we're open because we're not, like, we shouldn't be essential.
Yeah.
But we're open for some reason. Like, but
this is
yeah.
essential, I guess.
Yeah, but
no,
yeah.
I definitely think that whole, you know, archetype just gets doesn't. I think it's a little bit more, you know, just all around. There's more exposure to it, so people get a little bit of a better idea of what it's
Yeah.
like. But like, you're gonna go in and you're gonna. The part that I really love about martial arts, like you're gonna go in there, you're gonna roll with a guy who's a doctor, and then a guy who's a janitor, and
Yep.
then a guy who, you know, does whatever, and like all of on the mat, everything is like it's not equal, but like
Yeah,
everything
but,
is equal,
yeah.
aside for like your skill level and what you do and how you treat people is like realistically how it's gonna come back to you. You know, like everybody knows like a guy who's kind of like a hothead who's in the
Yep.
gym and like they get like sought out really quick. Like, those higher belts are like, okay, cool,
Okay,
let's
cool.
go.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see how that is. And you have some dude who's like in his mid to late 30s, early 40s, who you're like, this guy's a gut. What's he gonna do? But he's a purple belt. And
Yeah,
he just
you're like,
rolls you
yeah.
like a pretzel. And you're like,
like,
oh, yeah. And you just get that idea that's like it has nothing to do with your physical prowess or like what like if you have like some sort of inclination to like it's like be violent or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like you're gonna get found out really quick, like where you actually stack up.
There was a guy, I think I might have either just gotten my blue belt or was really close to it. And there was a newer guy who came in for jiu-jitsu. And I remember he just everyone does it. I did
Belt
it.
spazziness.
Yep, they're
Yeah.
just like grabbing you super hard and like trying to pull. I was like, chill.
Chill.
Like, and the thing was, I was like, chill. I did it too. I know
Yeah.
exactly what's going on in your head right now.
You're like, I gotta beat.
no, like
all
you
the
just
time.
just
Yeah.
relax. Like
Yeah, it's so funny
Yeah.
because that's like the like getting over that hump, that white belt hump,
Yep.
is really realizing you got to just chill out and
Yep.
relax to be good at it. Like you can't just be that. It's not wrestling. Even like guys who have high wrestling backgrounds, you know, like they might have a good base and like a good
Yeah.
like framework for how their body moves and how to physically like have that back and forth with somebody, but like in reality it's like an ebb and flow. It's like I need to know what you're trying to do. I need to think. It's like so much more
I
of a
feel so
thinking
bad.
game.
I don't remember his last name, but there's a guy that trains our gym, Anthony.
Yeah, purple belt Anthony.
Yes, like
Beast.
he drilled that into me. Like every time I roll, he's like, "All right, we're gonna go slow down. We're gonna slow down.
Yeah, chill
Like,
out,
just
relax,
chill out, relax."
You start to go fast, and then he just
He's-
puts you into it.
Yeah, he's just like,
Pretzel,
"Yeah,
Okay, I'll go slow.
Yeah.
That's message
Yeah.
received.
Yep. yeah." So I guess the more competitive thing. So like, when did you do your first fight? Do you remember?
2017, January.
Okay.
Yeah, January 2017.
And that was in PA.
That was in PA.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was kickbox or Muay Thai rather. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did Muay Thai, and in PA the rules are a little bit different. So you have to wear like headgear, which is so
interesting.
stupid. It's so dumb. It makes no sense. But there's no like science behind the fact like does this help with brain anything or does this help with impact? It doesn't.
Yeah.
Like you're still getting hit in the head. But it also makes you have a bigger target to get hit, so it's like it makes it a little bit weird. And you actually feel like so constricted, and you don't have peripheral vision, so you're just like your head is hot and you just can't breathe, and it's like
for me it was the hearing. I couldn't hear my corner.
Yeah.
The couple times I've done like the point kickboxing stuff with like the headgear,
Mhm.
I get it. I like kinda like I get the reasoning behind it, but it's just like, man, I have no idea. And if this thing gets twisted at some point, like I'm screwed. Like
what is actually
like
protecting
what's
me?
yeah.
It's like, is it more protecting that I can move better and I don't have as big of a target, or is it like the fact that I'm not going to get cut? And it's like usually that's what the headgear is for. It's like, especially in boxing, it's like getting closer to your fight. You're going to spar hard, but you don't want to get cut. You don't want to get a cut that's going to keep you out of a fight with like a punch or something like that. Which to that there's like something to it, but you're also not like sparring hard and getting like bopped, because you just feel like it rings you so much more, which is like weird. You know, you get that. It's almost like an eggshell. Like you just feel like you're rattling more. It's just like awful.
Yeah, Miles has hit me in the head before. Yeah. Like, I very much. Yeah. I think that was very early on in like my training too, where like I got clocked very cleanly once, and I was like, oh, that's what that feels like.
Yeah.
And what was strange was like, I guess what we're talking about is combat night. Was it 40 or 140 for them? I forget what the number was.
It was our 10-year anniversary show. So
Okay.
know,
whatever number that was.
Yeah.
But shout out to them. That was a great experience for me. Obviously you've done it a couple of times, but like that was my first time, and like but that was one of the things that I was kind of concerned about, because leading up to that fight, I had like a couple point kickboxing tournaments that I had gone to and done well at, but there's always this degree of like control, like not just in control and like aim and like accuracy, but more control and like you can't hit too hard. Yeah, people will yell, you lose points, you can knock somebody out like this. Or when you're sparring like with your teammates, obviously you don't want to knock them out. You don't want to like hurt them to the point where they can't come back the next day.
Definitely feels more like game-y, like more of like a
points.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
like
you're
that's
you're not going in there with like the mentality of like, this guy's gonna try to kill me, so I'm gonna not let him do that. I'm gonna try to inflict as much damage as I can. That
was the weird thing for my fight, or I was just like, oh yeah, I get to like take the limiter off. Like I get to like this dude, I actually get to hit you as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah. Which was beautiful to watch, by the way. That was
you.
awesome. I watched it. I was in the crowd and just screaming, and I'm like, I was kind of in the midst of, because I think you were a couple fights after me.
Yeah.
So I was still doing like the hugging all the friends and family and all that stuff, and I look over and I just see you swing. I'm like, oh shit, let's go. Like, that's my boy. I've been punched by him. Let's go. It's so weird. I've said this, and I know so many people have said the same thing. You get so much more nervous watching your teammates fight than you do yourself.
Yep. 100%.
It's such a weird thing. People assume like that must be so crazy and so terrifying, and you're like, it's more scary like to watch my team, because all you want is your teammate to just knock the guy out and win and like dominate, and like you see all the work that they put in, and like obviously you're doing it too, but in the moment you're just like, no dude, I know what I know what we've all gone through, like this means like everything in this moment, or it should at least when you're walking in there, you know. So it was like having so many guys on that card, and shout out to Mitch for
Yeah.
putting on 30 fights in a day. Like that is just absolutely amazing. Like
that was one of those things where I was like, I was kind of at first I was like, man, they're really flying through these, and then once I realized exactly how many fights, I was like, oh, they have to.
Yeah,
they don't have
that's on no interview. Get going.
Yeah, no hugging in over there. Just like but
it was weird. So my fight was supposed to be 11th on that card, like the initial of it, and I was like, okay, I got time. Like I'm not too worried about it. And I get there, and they're like, no, you're 5th, and I was like, oh, okay, time to get going. Cool, let's do it. And I like that because for me personally, like. It's not that I want to get it over with. It's just like I don't want to sit back there for 3 hours watching all of that happen. Like it's hard to gauge. Like, am I warm? Do I want to get too warm? Do I want to break a sweat? Do I want to
get there and fight?
Yeah. And like you don't want to be like hot and cold. Because I've had that happen too. Like I had an MMA fight where I was supposed to be at a certain number, and then they did an intermission, and then they switched it. Like I was supposed to be before an intermission, and I was like ready to literally walk out.
Mid-event.
Weird. And, like then they had like they added an intermission because some guy like bled too much on the canvas. Hold on, let's mop this up really quick. And it really messed with my like mentality going in because you're like go. Just kidding.
It's like wait, hold on.
Yeah, and like that's happened, and it's like I know it's so hard to manage and like promote these fights and put them on, and like you have so many moving parts going, and like certain like my fight for CFFC, I remember going out and then them being like, stop, hold on, we gotta wait for live, and it's like, okay, go. Wait, no, we're not good. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna punch you.
Yeah.
This is not. I'm not in the right headspace for you to be telling me to stop and go and stop. I need to just be right now. That's all it is. But I wanted to ask, like, for your camp in general, and then also specifically like the idea of cutting. So that was the first time that you've done a cut.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had pretty similar cut size to like me and Drew. I know we had like a bigger
18, 20-ish pounds.
Yeah, man. So how did that go for you, and how was that?
So like I've heard the horror stories of it beforehand, so I had a lot of that going through my head. I was like, man, this is gonna suck. Yeah, like this is everybody's like, man, this is the worst part. Like,
yeah, even on like the sorry, there's like even the like thing that they send out, it says suffer.
Yeah, I was laughing at that and showing that to people. I was like, all right, cool. Hey, look what I get to do.
Right. Yeah.
But
for people who don't know, our like weight cut thing, it pretty much says like eat until a certain point, have your last meal here, and then suffer until you weigh in. And it's just like, yeah, you're right. That's right. That's there.
Honestly, like now part of it was because I literally got to cut with two of the coaches, which is I'm super grateful for that. Like I feel like if I had to do it now by myself, I could do it. But shout out to Coach Alec and Coach Kenny. Like, thank you guys. I really appreciate that. But it was a little daunting at first, but everything up until that last sauna session was like, I was like, okay, I get why this sucks and this isn't pleasant. Right. But like, this isn't terrible.
Yeah, your mentality isn't detrimental.
Yeah, it was the last one, because when I got out of it, I had that like dehydration feeling for like, and I hadn't felt that way. Funny story. I had felt that way since I was in a line at a shitty like pokey amusement park like years ago, and I was sitting in a line. It was super hot, and I remember like just not drinking any water because genius. And I remember like almost passing out, and like my vision just going white, and I felt that exact same feeling again after I got out of that sauna that last time. And I was like, please be on weight. Like I was just like, if I had to do this again, like this is gonna suck.
You have those like small victories throughout the cut where you're like, okay, I only have this amount, and then you finally get on weight and you're like, yes, but also I just want to drink something. Like you're not hungry, you're not tired, because your body is just like, we need to get something in you. Like, and then your heart is just like pounding, which is that's like weird.
I wasn't expecting that either. It like you would think physics or like physiology, like of course that's what's gonna happen. But like when that first session, my heart was just like boom, 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 boom. I was like, is this me or is this like the thing? Like what? Like, what's going on? And I was like, nope, that's normal. It's supposed to just do that. I was like, okay, cool, all right. But I don't. It's something I'm not necessarily. I don't know if I would say looking forward to. I'm still pretty impartial to it.
Yeah, like I don't have like a bad cut where you're like actually feeling, like there's something gonna be wrong. Like you're gonna actually, because I've heard the same thing, like horror stories, and I think it's just different for different people. Like certain people, the weight just comes off, and like I'm gratefully that kind of person. Like if I do a good sauna session, I'll drop 5 to 7 like immediately, like in a half hour. So my cut was like really smooth, and I did it at home, but I had the same thing that you guys had, the sit-in saunas.
But you had something a little bit different to your
Hmm.
during your whole camp, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember you telling me about it, but you had like a personal like trainer kind of person that
Yes.
was
So
managing it.
I hired a nutritionist
Okay.
for this whole camp. This is the first one for me. Shout out to Eric Pena for Pena Performance. That dude's he made this like such a smooth and easy transition. So I had a rough cut, not like a like same thing, like not feeling like I was dying, but it was a rough cut for my last fight. And I never felt like I got back to feeling good after it. So it was like if
Ooh.
I did the baths, which
Mm.
I don't want to do baths ever again. It's not even because like they're worse or better than the sauna. It's just like in the sauna, at least you feel like I can move around. I can do in the bath. You're just sitting there, and you're just your
Mm.
whole time your brain is telling you like get out of the tub, get out of the tub. This sucks. And like the sauna is a little bit of that, but there's like an ease into it. You like get warm, you get hot, then you start sweating. You're like, okay, good, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
But in the tub, you're just sitting there and you don't really know. You're just there because you're
Oh.
soaked in water. And,
Yeah.
like the heat is like up in your face, and you're those sauna like sit alone saunas are great because like your head is out of it. You can poke your hands out if you want to. That was a big thing for me. Like my hands got like super hot. It made me more uncomfortable. So I would like have a towel rested on it. I would just pop them
Mm.
out and like dry them off and just like get a little second and then pop them back in. But yeah, I think that like my last camp, I never got back to like a normal walk around weight because like realistically, I cut 12 to 14 usually, and like I don't think I got back up to past like 181 from 170. So like I should have been like 185, 186. That's what I was this past camp. But like
Mm.
I didn't feel like I had a plan in place for like my rehydration process.
Okay.
So this time I hired him for the 2 months for the whole nutrition. So he gave me like a spreadsheet that had all of my food options and like a certain weight to them. And then that coincided with a Word document that just said like Monday morning, 1 hour after waking up, eat 3.5 proteins. And then that would be like, if I needed, it would be like 2 whole eggs is one protein. So I would eat like 4 eggs and then like ground turkey and like protein powder or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would just coincide with whatever the spreadsheet told me was available for me. So he had it like based on what my days were like. Like, so Tuesday, Thursdays, you know, like the early morning sessions are like
Yeah.
the harder sessions.
Yep.
And like Fridays being hard, and then Sundays being like the hard. So there's
Yeah.
like a little bit more
Yeah.
calorically those days, and then the days like Saturday, that's kind of like an active rest day. I would have a lot less calorie wise. So like just the and also just the mindset of knowing that somebody knows what I'm supposed to
Yeah.
be doing. So then
Just takes that off. of
yeah,
you.
exactly. And then going into the week of the fight, it was like, all right, now you're going to cut sodium after this time. You're going to cut carbs after this time, cut the skins off of the vegetables that you're eating. Like everything was so specific.
Wow.
And then
Okay.
all the way up until, and the thing is like, I water loaded up until Thursday. So like I didn't taper it down at all. I started on Saturday and loaded up until like Thursday, I think.
Mm.
And then like my carbs went, and then I didn't have like that really like I need to drink, but I would just like slosh water around in my mouth
Yeah.
and spit it back out. It's hilarious. It's like all you're thinking about is like, if
water.
I could just drink water. I told this is funny. I told this to Coach Mike. You ever see G.I. Joe Retaliation?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so there's a scene in there where they're like they have to hide from people and they like jump in this well and they like to hide. They like dip under the water. And as soon as I was watching the scene, because I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and couldn't go back to sleep because you're just like, I need to make weight, like the day of weigh-ins. And
Yeah.
you just like couldn't sleep at all. And I'm watching that and I see them go underwater. I'm like, that so good. Like your mind is like, drink water all the time. But yeah, and then I think the biggest thing for this camp was the rehydration, because like he told me, you're gonna mix this into a shake. You have 3 different shakes, and not really like a milkshake, but like a mixture of like BCAAs, coconut water, these Noon tablets, which are like electrolyte and caffeine.
Okay.
And there's 3 different ones. He's like, you're gonna finish the first one 15 minutes after you weigh in, alternating that with room temperature water. Then you're gonna wait 15 minutes just drinking water, then do your second shake, and then do this, and then your third shake, and then an hour after that, you're gonna have your first meal. It's gonna be lean protein and a cup and a half of rice. And like
Interesting.
everything was
So specific.
yeah, that I never felt like I was questioning it, because like the week of the fight, I'm like, I don't know, what do I eat? Do I eat this? And then after the fight, it's like, eat enough to weigh as much as you did before the cut. And it's like, yeah, but I don't know what to eat. I don't want to like, you don't want to like completely screw off and go eat pizza and like dumb stuff. But it was just like to know exactly what I needed to eat going into it. I felt so like recovered this time around compared to the last time. So the last time I fought like a heavy wrestler, and I won the first round pretty convincingly on the feet, doing like the stand up. He was more of a wrestler, a grappler. Dude was literally from Georgia, the country, and like probably started wrestling when he was 4 years old. So the second and third round, he was able to take me down and control me. And as soon as my back like hit the back, I was like, I don't have anything in me. I don't have any energy to get up. I can't move. I don't feel like. And that was like, I was like, damn, I don't think like he's that much better than me. I just think I can't. I'm just stuck, stuck in a rut a little bit. And I was like, I can't have that happen. I can't have that be like something that I'm thinking about. So I hired him, and I think it was like one of the best decisions I made for that camp for sure.
That's amazing.
It felt so good to be fully like knowing I'm like totally rehydrated. I'm right where I need to be and all that stuff.
Definitely looked like it in your fight.
Yeah. That was fun.
Sorry. There was like a moment where I guess both of you guys threw like that spinning back kick, and then like you caught him up against the wall, and then you kind of slammed him over, and like that sweep-ish slam. I don't know what you want to call it.
Like, throw kind of thing. Yeah.
But I remember contrasting that with I think it was your previous fight, or maybe 2 fights back. I was like, he looks like just you were more there.
Yeah.
It felt like
Absolutely.
you had more energy. I was just like, yep. Like, and it's weird too to think like, I know people say this all the time. We're like, oh, I can pick who's gonna win this fight like early on in the fight, but like you I don't think that's necessarily true every time, but I felt like in that moment I was like, he's got this.
Yeah,
like he has won this fight.
It's
like,
wild. Like the whole, and I know Coach Mike we had like that kind of meeting in the middle of camp. It was just like that mentality thing, like, and it was really really like good to hear that, like, him saying like excitement and anxiety are the same thing.
Yes,
they're the same hormone. They're the same response.
I've kept that going,
dude,
past that to like all kind of other different things now.
Yeah, absolutely. That was like a really reverential like statement that he made, and I was just like, yeah, like that's 100% true. And I like looking back on my previous fight, which is probably the one that you're talking about, it was like I went into that cage being like, let's get this shit over with. Like I got through the first round, I was like, all right, I won that round. Let's just do that 2 more times. Like, I'm not worried about it. Like this time going into it, I was like, no, I gotta take it to this dude. And like shout out to Sean, my opponent. That dude was game, and he wanted to be in there. He wanted to win that fight, and like was slick. Like kickboxing, his striking was really slick, and like I consider myself like an elite high level striker, but I was like, why would I kickbox with a kickboxer? Like, that is the
That's
dumbest
true.
thing. And it's like this game ends up being, especially in MMA, it's like it's a mentality thing. It's a more of a thought out thing. I've heard this on multiple podcasts, but people saying it's like human chess, like with like dire consequences. But like, the idea that like you got to be smarter and like there's this thing I was going to ask you about this too, because there's like a first fight, you're just kind of like, this is like a blur. It just happens and you're like, oh, it's over. And like I heard Christian kind of say the same thing. He's like, I felt like a movie. Like I just felt like things were happening, and like this was like the first fight where I was like, oh, I'm in control of this whole thing. Like this is all me. Like I feel at a point where I can take this fight where I need to go and like dominate wherever I need to. And I knew like my whole camp, you were in there for a couple of the MMA sessions. It was like cage pressure, put him up against the cage, beat him up, control the whole fight. And like, I wanted to show that was a part of my game that I've been working on, because my previous fight, I lost because of that. Like I lost 2-1 because of a guy grappling me and holding me down. So this fight, I was like, I've been working so hard on my grappling and my wrestling. I got my purple belt. I'm like coming into my own as like a very well-rounded fighter now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to think like, oh, I hope he doesn't take me down. Like I'll beat him as long as he doesn't take me down. Now it's like, oh, we're wrestling, cool. Let's wrestle.
All right,
Let's do it. So it's good to feel like that evolution, because it takes so much time and so much effort to get there, and just you're constantly like trying to beat yourself. You're trying to like, it's you and you realistically, and people don't really get that, because it looks like,
hey, you have an opponent.
Yeah,
like,
there's a guy. He's right there.
Yeah.
The team, different color. Like he's red, you're blue. Like there's a different, but it's like it is so much more just you versus you, because you know what you can do. You're capable of training. Like even in your respects, like going into your first fight, it's your first fight, but you're training with Miles, you're training with me, you're training with Andreas, like all these guys who have multiple like experience in competitive, and like just having that confidence going in, I think is just massive.
There were so many things that like I guess helped with that mentality aspect of it. One, I have a therapist I see like once a week, and that helped with the mental thing a lot. And then also, once I knew that my opponent was southpaw and was slightly taller than me, I was like, oh, I got this. Yeah, this is good. If I can deal with this guy, like if I knew that you were leagues above him, And I just remembered all the different sparring sessions, the times where like I didn't do that well, the times I did a little bit better. And I was like, okay, all right, so this is what that's what I'm looking to get into the cage with.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like a lot of that stuff came up and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And on top of that, he's shorter. He had less like reach than you do. So I was just like, all right, this is not
doable.
Yeah, this is extremely doable.
Yeah.
Like, I got this.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I am gonna toot our horn a little bit. Like we have some fucking amazing teammates.
Yeah, savages.
It's crazy.
Beautiful.
And I don't think I really got the value of that until now after I have that fight. Like I kind of knew that. I kind of recognized that.
But you don't really know.
But you don't know it until you've tested. And then like now that I'm like, no, we have like it's so crazy to me to think of how lucky I am to have found that gym because there's so many other gyms.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't like try another gym beforehand.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, first one popped up. Okay, go jungle. Like, okay, I'll show up. Okay, $20 or $25, whatever. Try out.
Looks
Yeah, I
cool.
kind of like this. Looks cool. Like, there was no like, I didn't
No vetting process.
No, none whatsoever. And I just happened to end up at like the best gym. Like it's nuts. But yeah, man, there are parts of the fight that I would say were that like blur kind of thing. Mainly that second round. I think the first and third rounds for me were like, they're super crystal clear in my head. Like I know what I did right. The third round in particular, I think that was the round that I was beginning to be like, this is fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy
saw
this.
that. I
I
saw
was like,
that change.
yeah, I was just like,
that
I
forward, like, wait, this guy can't do anything.
Yeah,
to
I was
me.
like, he's hit me in the face already,
Yeah.
and I felt that already.
I'm
I'm
better
like,
than this.
I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
Like I was there. I remember that moment where it clicked, and I was just like, I can do this like for years. Like, like this is so much fun.
Like 99% of people will never get to feel
Yeah.
that high, and like it's something that is just like indescribable to feel that and be like, wait, no, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
Like I can do this, like actually, and like similar to what you're saying. So I've trained with quite a probably a handful of guys who are like currently UFC like contracted guys. So like Mickey Gall and Carl Roberson, a bunch of different guys, Bellator, like all of that. So I've had some hard sparring sessions with those guys where I've gotten cracked. I've come out of a sparring session and been like, oh wow, that was rough. That was brutal. So like going into that and like one of the guys he was like a glory kickboxer, like hit like a truck and like all these guys, and you realize like, oh well, I'm not gonna fight a guy like that for a long time.
Yeah.
So, like, all these guys that I'm training with, it's just like iron sharpens iron in a good way. Like you don't obviously want to just be going in and having these wars in your gym all the time, which I love our gym because of that. Like it never feels like that provides. It's just like we're getting better. Like I'm here to get better. You're here to get me better. We're all just kind of, rising tide lifts all ships type of vibe. I've always felt that way at the jungle, which is great. But like when you go in there with a guy who's got 8 times as much experience as you and like has the professional experience, you're like, oh, it kind of like normalizes it a little bit. You're like, oh, okay. Like my skills, it's not just like if I get punched one time, it's just going to go away. And like you can feel that way going into your first fight. Like then you get hit and you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Like this is much more like a sparring session than it is like, and it's not,
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of that mentality of like, they're going to come at you a little bit more, but then you're like, oh, guys come at me all the time.
It's strange too, like the lack of pain, like mid fight. Like you kind of knew, going into that, like, hey, there's adrenaline going. It's not like you're not gonna feel all of it. I didn't feel any of it. Like there was one like body blow, but that was more of like an internal, like, hey, I literally just felt the wind like go out of and I was like, but like in terms of like, oh, that punch caught me square in the jaw, like I'm kind of dazed. None of that. A few leg kicks that I took, I felt that after the fact, but like in the middle of the fight, I was just like, okay,
right.
Like and I see all that, like I see that in like UFC where you don't have shin guards, and I always see that, and I'm like, how the fuck are these dudes like still like moving around, standing? Like I was like, how is this happening? But now I kind of like, you don't feel any of that. Like it sounds like you hear these crack of shin on shin, and you're like,
you literally feel it, like you feel the impact of it, but there's no pain associated with it until I think your body's just
which is weird.
Yeah, it is. It's so weird. Did you have any like bad soreness after, like next day?
I still do. My left shin is like that's part of the reason why I took the last week or so off, like out of the gym. I came back on that Monday, or it was Monday or Tuesday, one of the two. I think it was Tuesday, and I went to the kickboxing class, and I was like, feeling okay. Like I didn't get knocked out or anything like that. Now days like
Injury
I'm
wise,
all right.
Yeah.
And then I I checked one kick, and I was like, okay, all right, yeah. It's like okay, maybe I should just take a little bit off. And now it feels a lot better now, so I'll probably be hopping back in there this week.
That was my plan too. Yeah,
so.
this was like the least amount of injury I've ever taken from a fight, which is great. You know, like he caught me with a couple of decent ones. I got a shiner, but like the way that, you know, the couple of times he hit me like in transition and stuff like that, but I never got like smoked or like hit to a point where I was like, wow, I got to watch out for that punch. It was just like, all right, he's hitting me, but I'm still getting to him. I'm still getting to those grappling situations and stuff like that. But yeah, it's so funny. Like the next day, like sometimes it feels like a car, you got into a car accident.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my
Everything
God.
hurts.
Yeah.
Like,
They didn't tell me it was going to hurt. Like, well, you're getting into a cage fight, so it's going to hurt. Yeah. That's so funny.
I think for me, there were, I guess my favorite thing, or the thing that I really got from that, was I was never very, very sure of like my power. I've heard a lot of people, like I've heard coaches, a lot of people talking like, no, you hit really hard. I'm like,
yeah, you hit really hard.
I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but do I? And then then now that I actually got to like be like, I don't have to worry about controlling it. And I was just like, okay, I do. All right. Yeah. I was like,
he's feeling those.
He did every major blow that I think landed, and even some of the ones that he blocked. Like I could see him get hit, and then he would back off.
React.
It would always be defensive. I was like, I must be hitting him that hard.
He doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, okay, cool. Like,
yeah, because you can have the mentality as much as you want to be in it, like your game. I want to fight, and then like you get cracked, and you're like, okay, well I can't take too many of them. So like I need to back up and figure this stuff out. But yeah, I definitely felt like watching that, like your third round, I just saw you like come into this like confidence and this just like ferocity, and it was like that's the Joe I see in all the time. Where it's like, no, I'm fighting, like I'm here. Yeah,
I was like this. It was more of a like. I knew at that point I had won round one, and I was pretty sure I won round two. Round two, I could have lost round two, but I was pretty sure that I had won round two. And so I was going in round three, and I was just like, I'm having so much fun right now. If I don't like just like enjoy this, like if I don't just take hold of like this moment, I'm gonna regret it. Yeah. And I think I caught him with one clean hook before that, and I was like, this is the shit. Yeah. And like I was like, this is why we all like
this is the juice,
sweat and like blood and all that. Like I was like, I love this. This is so much fun. And then there's like Coach Alex talked to me about this, but there was like that moment where I literally was like, come on. Like I was like, we got like backing up and you're going I was like, we got 30 seconds left. Let's fight. Like let's I know I hope that he was also having as much fun as I was. It seemed like he was, and I was just like, all right, man, this is it. This is the last 30 seconds of like we've got for the night.
This is it. Yeah.
Let's throw down. Like, give me everything you got. Let's like
don't leave anything in there.
Yeah. And it man, I cannot wait to do that again. It's gonna be so much fun.
Dude,
like
I was gonna ask. I was like, it's a lot. You know, you just get different opinions. Like some people just want to do it to do it once and figure that out, but you want to do it again. Absolutely. So, that's awesome.
The moment that it's offered again, I'll be back in there. I cannot wait. Yeah, maybe MMA. I don't know.
Yeah, dude.
I have a question for you though about because some of the stuff that I won't say experience because it doesn't really get to me, but I think it's interesting to talk about. Actually, before I do that, I've been seeing this, but I haven't been paying it too much attention.
Oh, God.
I meant to ask you. I'll wait until after talk to you about Colby because I'm curious how that went too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
So, shout out to the Schmidt family for watching this. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Michael Schmidt, Lauren Schmidt, Hannah, all of you guys.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody that comes to the swing scene.
Yeah.
The Daddy Lucas about to shout me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alex
in the chat.
Rigging his face.
One thing, Coach Alec, in between like second, I think it's the end of the second round, and I was just kind of like, you know, just like I'm like, I got one more, I got to do. Like I know I'm doing well, and he just looked at me, he's like, dude, you're winning.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, cool, dude. Yeah. And he just like, do you realize that you're winning and you're doing awesome right now? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I needed that. Like he just has that ability to know what to say every time at the right time.
I remember he came it might have been the second round for me too, where he came up to me and was like, what's going on in there right now? And I was like, are you tired? And I was like, a little bit. He's like, you're not tired. Like, it was like you're right. I'm not.
Yeah,
tired.
you're right.
I just,
been more
I just,
tired.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I've definitely been way more tired than this. Like,
Oh, Claire, what's up, Claire?
hey, what's up? Nah, like he had a great fight too. Again, one of those moments where I'm just like, how fucking lucky am I
Yeah.
that I have this guy as a coach? Like,
Yeah.
it's nuts. Like, I don't know. But
Knockout of the night.
yeah.
Insane. Yeah.
That I love the look. I don't know if you've seen the camera angle that's behind, like from him getting punched.
Mm-hmm.
The look in Alex's face when his arm, like he's just
drops the arm.
he's looking at him just
It's
like,
like, you want to fuck? Yeah, he's like, you messed up.
Like,
It's literally that, like, you fucked up.
Oh, I was
Yeah,
like, oh, you're hurt
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Like, it is
like-
a beautiful
it's just like, oh,
shot.
You couldn't take me down. Oh,
Oh,
bummer.
yes.
I'm coming. Yeah, it was just absolutely beautiful.
Oh man.
It's crazy to go back and watch those things, and like having so many people fight on that card was just this like energy that I was all about all throughout camp. You know, you're just like, because my last camp, it was like me and Andreas is great. He's a little bit like, you know, solid, like just, you know, serious, like legit, and like a monster.
Every time I spar with him, it's like,
yeah,
oh my god,
he's gonna try to kill me.
yeah.
And
I might die.
but like having everybody there and having so many people like debuting, a bunch of people having like big fights, Kenny making his pro debut, like Drew making his pro debut. It was just like, oh, this is like a big this is all of us. Like we're all in this like huge thing together, and this
like,
whole night is like set up for us.
Yeah.
You know? And it was just
like,
it felt like it went exactly how it was.
It was 11 of us, right?
Yeah, it would have been 12 if Dana's didn't drop out.
Yeah,
and
that sucks.
And Moody.
Yeah,
for the
dude,
19th.
Okay,
somebody fight Alex.
Someone please fight this man.
Somebody fight
like,
me, please.
Jesus, man. I felt so bad because like there was one moment, I think either the day before or 2 days before his opponent dropped out, where like they were talking about like you were fighting, you gotta fight. And I was like, yeah, awesome. Like, and then as we were walking off the mat, I remember looking at him and be like, I'm not gonna make the joke.
Yeah.
And then like he was just like, he's like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna do it.
No, not me. Yeah.
And then it happened like 2 days. I was like, God damn it, like, dude.
I'm like, I've said this to him like a couple of times. Every camp it happens to him. I'm just like, I feel so bad for the guy who pulls your name and actually shows up. Like, I feel so bad for that guy. Because
I wonder if the opponents know that at this point.
For real.
Like,
they're
like, oh,
this guy's like a 6-fight camp veteran.
Yeah.
He's not a 6-fight veteran, but he's a 6-fight camp veteran.
Man.
It's brutal. That's the thing about Amis though, man. Like, you're just gonna get there's not as much, you know, like you don't have to, you know, there's not as much like responsibility to show up. You know, there's no money involved.
Yeah.
You know, like signing a contract, and like, you know, your reputation isn't as like seen as like I've to this point I've never pulled out of a fight. I've never missed weight. I've always had, and like that's a part of like the, you know, the discipline that I take into it. I'm like, oh, I get this opportunity and I'm gonna make sure I make every single second of it.
Hell yeah.
But like you will have guys that are just like, I don't know, you had even Coach Drew, like his opponent the week of was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he just like quit fighting. He's like completely. And he's like,
wow.
He was going to be making his like pro debut. He had like 8 fights, and he was just like, I'm out.
I don't
I'm done
want
with
this.
this. Yeah.
Huh.
And like that mentality, it's just like in amateurs, you just get a little bit more of that. Like, I'm doing this, but am I doing this? And like, there's a long, you know, road between amateur debut to pro debut to I'm a seasoned pro to like I'm in one of the major organizations. You know?
I don't know if this is a good thing, but I don't look at it like in that way. I think this might have something to do with like how long I've been doing it and how old I am. Where it's like I enjoy it and I want to it's more like I'm along for the ride. I don't know, like, is it possible that I get a contract with a big organization? It's possible, but I think realistically, the odds of that are happening are low, but that's not going to stop me from fighting as often as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
Like, I guess I just don't look at it as like the long term. For me, it's more of like, what's my next fight? Yeah. Next training. Like
that's how it has to be.
Yeah. I don't want to look and be like, where am I gonna, like, how have my fights been? Am I getting like looked at? Is like promotions looking at me? Like, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that. I want to get in there. I want to kill a person. Yeah. And then like I want to go home.
Body, home.
Get a burger.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. I feel that. I think the short term memory is like the best thing you can have. Like, you can't be overcritical of your like the good or overcritical of the bad. Like, you take them both and then you're just like, all right, let's go. Next thing's up. Like, 0-0.
Yeah.
Every time. Like that's how my mentality has been since I started this. Like every time I go
I
into
never
a
thought
fight,
about that. That's
I'm 0-0. Like
that's really cool.
and
0-0.
even as an amateur, like I have 8 fights now. I'll be going into like my 9th total fight, and like I've trained and felt and acted like a pro since I started doing this stuff. So like I've never had a camp where I wasn't like, I don't know, I've just had that mentality. And like Coach Michael said this too, but like a fight is a fight. Like you're an MMA fight, whether it's an amateur fight, it's 9 minutes, it's 15 minutes. Like you can still go in there and get knocked out. Like there's those guys are still throwing leather with 4-ounce gloves and like throwing hard, and like it's still a fight. So whether it's a professional fight or not, you got to go in there with the mentality that like I'm gonna try to put out the best performance that I can and be locked in. Because if you're not, and that guy is, it's gonna be a bad night for you. Like it can be a really bad night. So
and I think what motivated me every single day, like there were so many days where I'd wake up or I'd go to work, I'd clock out from work, and I'm like, man, I could just go home. I've been training like last 6 days I've been in there. I can take this day. Nah.
No,
like that idea of like my opponent's probably training right now.
Oh yeah.
That was like the thing that was always like, okay, cool.
Huge.
I don't care if nobody shows up on Friday for kickboxing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, I'm gonna be there as often as I possibly can. Like so that when no matter what happens that Saturday, I can go, okay, I was there. I put in the time. I did the work.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's some stuff I need to fix if I didn't, like regardless of win or lose, like, but I never wanted to think back and be like, well, you didn't really work on your cardio that well.
Yeah.
Or
you missed this.
You missed this thing. Like,
you
yeah.
decided not to do this. Yeah.
Nah. I know that that's like an easy, like mental kind of trap to fall into, but like, if anyone was ever thinking about doing this kind of stuff, even if it's not like fighting, but any physical thing, like, I don't know, whatever you have to tell yourself to like get into that headspace of like every day, like you're doing it.
Yeah. Your mentality has to be, and even if it's like, I'm putting this, but I get to eat whatever I want and have a great night and get hammered afterwards. Like, whatever your motivation is to go in and do it, I think is like the most important thing. And like for me, it would be like Sundays, like Sunday conditioning. I would be like completely dead at the end of it, and I'm like, there's no way that a 9-minute fight is going to be harder than that. Like in my head, I'm always just like, I'm going to exhaust myself to the point where I want to throw up every Sunday. And I know if I put that workout in, that cardio wise, that everything, like there's nothing, like we do that for an hour straight. For people who don't know, like our Sunday sessions is just death for an hour. Like you're probably going to burn between 1,000 and 1,200 calories. It's a lot of sprints. It's anaerobic. It's conditioning. It's strength training. It's everything rolled into one. Core conditioning, like, and you just get out of that being like, well, I definitely don't think a 9-minute or 8-minute fight is going to be worse than that. So like, if you put that work in, you just understand. Like our coaches say it all the time, but it's like, camp is the hard part. Fighting's easy. Like the fighting is easy. Making weight, doing your camp, being consistent, having the right mentality when you go in, making the most of every session. That's the hard part, because like life happens all this time. Random stuff happens. I've had random life things happen in every camp that was like, okay, well, we got to figure this out, but also get to the gym and actually put your work in. Don't worry about it. Like I had to push off so much stuff. Like my transmission went in my car like 2 weeks before. Like I was just like, oh, well, I'm going to drive this thing. And then the car that I was driving, also the alternator went in, and I was like, all right,
okay,
I'm
cool.
I'm driving my roommate's car. I'll deal with life after this, but like the fight is the main, priority right now. And like, if you can lock that in and be like, every single day, that's my number one priority, like you will do well in this type of thing, where it's like, it's also like some people can be savages in the gym, can beat everybody, can tap everybody, can beat everybody in sparring, but when the lights come on and they got to walk out, is different. It's a different mentality you have to have of like, oh no, this is it. Like
I was concerned about that too.
Yeah.
But I think we got to step in the cage before, like the day before. So I got to feel that.
Yeah, that's important.
And then right before we walked out, like the thought was there, but like you remember that like little wing area they had, and the dude has his camera in your face, like as you're like, no one can see you, like your music hasn't started playing. Well, no, my opponent was already in the cage by the time I got there. Yeah. But like it was just me, Coach Eric. I don't remember. I guess Coach Alec was there, and like I just remember looking at that camera and being like, "Oh yeah, I've been in front of cameras before. I've been behind cameras before. This is normal. Like this is fine." And then all of that kind of went away. And like it wasn't until after I'd stepped out of the cage and was walking around, I was like, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
I didn't even
tunnel
see.
vision
Yeah, I didn't even see them.
immediately.
Like when I was walking
Yeah.
out there, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I try to get lost in my walkout. I get that stuff done. So I had DJ Colt like custom remix.
I didn't
walkout.
hear that. That's the
Dude,
thing that frustrated.
I'll show you after the pod
I
for
listened
sure.
to that.
Yeah, because I think I told you what it was, like the what songs
Yeah.
and stuff it was. But yeah, when I knew like that was coming out, I was like, oh, I got this motherfucker. Like, you just have that mentality. And like, what was weird about mine is like our staging was like he was standing there waiting to walk out for a good 5 minutes. So I'm just looking at him like he's not that big.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like telling yourself this. I'm just sitting there and like. I really do think like in that moment you can literally make that decision. Like, am I here to fight or am I here to not get beat?
Yep.
Like, you got to be in that mindset. That's just like, I put in way too much work to not come out of this with a win.
Yeah.
And like also, it's 3 3s. It's 3 2s. We do 8 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
It's like nonstop
Yeah.
with a 30-second break in between. So when you make it, you put it into those like layman terms. You're like, this dude has 2 arms. He has 2 feet. He trains, I train. We probably do the same shit, relatively speaking. Like, we're both in good shape, like physically, and like I know I push myself as much as I can. I know I have solid training partners. So like when you humanize the process a little bit more, for me at least, it makes it like a lot easier. Like, I go, well, this guy's got kickboxing experience. He's trained a little bit longer than me, but he doesn't have the competitive experience that I do, and like all of those things, and you can humanize the moment a little bit more. And then it's like, oh, I have to do 3 3s.
That's it,
dude. I get crushed by Jackson for an
Yeah.
hour, like a 240-pound monster wrestler, Miles, a pro, like insanely big, like these massive human beings, and I gotta get out from underneath them. Like, what is
Like
this
this guy? Okay.
Yeah,
All right, yeah.
exactly. It's always that like mentality thing.
Yeah.
So.
All of the stuff that like it's weird. It almost was like shout out to Noah, by the way. That guy, he solid fighter. Like my opponent, super cool dude. Like I know that there was some like words or whatever from like his corner or whatever, which was something I was going to ask you about. But I in every time I've ever had any interaction with him, stand up dude. But okay, I guess I'll ask you this because the other thing I was gonna ask you is gone. So, I hope it'll come back.
Yeah.
So have you had like any like major, what's the word? Like controversy or anything? Basically, so in my fight, there were 4 nut shots. The first one, I've looked at that footage a couple times. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what hit me in the nuts. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like all I know is like when I stood up, I could feel it. And if you've ever been hit in the nuts before, it's not something that's just like flash pain.
Yeah.
It happens. It kind of just lingers for a bit.
It gets worse.
Yeah, and I was like, God damn, this sucks.
And you know it happens.
Yeah, I like yeah. It's just like the other thing I was thinking to myself was like the small controversy around that was like I was winning that round.
Yeah.
What good would it have done me
Yeah.
to like fake that? But that's besides the point. What I'm curious is like, have you had to deal with anything like that after a fight, like where there's just I don't know, like there's people on the internet like whining about stuff and complaining.
Controversial about it.
Yeah.
I've had some stuff like, so I had my last 2 kickboxing Muay Thai fights. It was a rematch. So the guy I fought the first time, he was a beast. He was like 3-0, 3 knockouts, big heavy-handed dude. And in the middle of our fight, like the dude apparently forgot to bring his jock strap. So he had like inserted his cup into his like briefs, you know how there's that pocket.
Yeah.
So in the middle of our fight, his cup fell out of his shorts onto the ring, and it happened. And we were like, "What?" And I was 100% winning, but it was close. Like it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I was walking away with it, and it happened again. And they stopped the fight, intermission. Like his coach literally had to like put it in because he had gloves on, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the commissioner was like, "If this happens again, I have to disqualify you." And it happened like 2 rounds in. So he gets disqualified. I win. And we're like, for anybody who's ever fought and had something like disqualification happen, you don't feel like you won. You don't feel like, so that was like the most controversial thing that I've had happen in a fight. And then they rematched it and I beat him, like convinced, I think it was like 30-25 on every card, and like dominated the fight for the most part and won. But like even in that fight, I remember dude, he hit me so hard in the dick, and like to the point where it sounded like a shotgun, like,
Oof.
and like everybody was like, oh,
Ooh.
and we all dropped to the ground, and in my head I'm like, I'm winning this fight, I gotta get up, like I can't take my
Yeah,
time.
give him.
'Cause
Yeah.
he's gassing out, I gotta go, like I gotta get up and get going. So like that kind of thing definitely happened, and then later in that fight, or early in that fight, I kicked him, and I kicked him right in the stomach, and he bent over and acted like I hit him in the dick, to the point where he, after the fight, came back to me. He's like, by the way, you didn't low blow me. Like I just needed to get like I needed to
You
get
need
it.
to get
So
a
like
second.
that was probably the closest thing I've had to any type of and actually one more thing, my MMA debut. I took my debut. I think I was a 2-stripe white belt. I was 2-0 in kickboxing. I TKO'd the last guy I fought, and this guy was more of a grappler. And we walked out to the center. This is the one where they switched up the order and the intermission and all that. It was in my hometown. I sold so many tickets for it. It was this huge thing. And we go up for the glove touch, and he comes over top of the glove touch and clocks me, hits me. We like go backwards, and it ends up into a grappling situation. I take him down and then get armbarred, and I got subbed in the first round, like a minute. And like, and he like literally got blacklisted in the sport. And like the promoter came up to me. He was like, he's never going to fight for me ever again. Like that does not fly, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So like that's the most controversial things that I've definitely have had happen to me. That was my MMA debut. So I was 2-0 in kickboxing, and it's so funny because like even leaving that, I was just like, well, that's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah,
I don't feel that bad. Like I'm all right. Like I just got $20 worth of Wendy's, and I'm fat. And, like I'm just eating whatever I want. Yeah. So I'm like, if that's the worst thing that could happen to me in my career, I feel like I'm gonna be all right. So then like it kind of just washed away that idea. But no, I haven't had like people talking shit or like having like a significant. I kind of expected a little bit of that after this one. Yeah. Because my dude was a kickboxer and I'm predominantly a stand-up guy, and like I think everybody expected that to just be like a kickboxing fight. But it's a fight. It's an MMA fight. Like if you wanted to make a kickboxing fight, get me off of you and stop me from punching you in the face in the clinch. But like, yeah, so that I think that there's always going to be chatter. Did you have any like chatter afterwards? Really? Oh yeah, really. Yeah. He was debuting. Was he debuting?
Both of us were debuting.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
but it's an amateur kickboxing fight. You're gonna have like
to a certain degree, it doesn't like. It's one of those things that like I hadn't thought too much about it until just now. like
coming full force.
Yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, they did do that. That was the thing. And man, I'm not gonna talk shit about people, especially like I said, like my opponent's solid, dude. I'm not gonna talk about the people that said whatever they said, but it's an interesting feeling. I had never experienced, like in all the sports that I played, I've never experienced, I guess, it that close, because I could hear that corner.
Yeah,
I could hear what they were saying, and I was just like, huh,
yeah,
interesting.
Like, well, you're not in here fighting, so
yeah, I was like, yeah, I mean,
I don't think you know what I'm going through.
It's like,
yeah,
okay, cool, but yeah, it was just, that was, I think, the more of, it was something very unique that I wasn't thinking about or expecting. And then when it happened, I was just like, oh yeah, I guess this is a part of this too.
Yeah,
like there's that side of this.
You're gonna have people that are gonna be like that. I think even after like Jeremy's last fight, like he out grappled the dude like convincingly and won his fight, like had a really good showing. And it's like, especially in MMA, I just feel like people have this just bleed swinging, like just swing, like especially on the amateur level too. Like people come there to watch people get knocked out, and it's like I'm very I want longevity in the sport. I want to be rounded. I want to know that I can grapple hard for 3 rounds and like control a fight in that way. Like Coach Mike said, like you get the win. Like you win. You go in there to win. You don't go in there to show people like that you can take a punch. Like I'm not in there to get hit for no reason and like get punched. And like I took like 5 hard punches in that fight, and like I know I gave a lot more than that, and like in the clinch situations, and in like when I got into mount and all those things. And it's just like, there's no, like it's a fight at the end of the day. You're not thinking consciously like, oh, I'm going to fake a nut shot and take my time, especially when you're winning a fight. And it's just like people are going to have their opinions from the outside, and they always want they take your teammate's side. Like it may be
that's true too. Like they have so much invested in that person. Like you obviously want the best for them and all those things, but you gotta
just kind of shoulder that, especially if it's only in like the immediate aftermath of it, because it's not like they're on like social media. Like they were.
Yes.
Dude, that is hilarious.
Yeah, it's honestly cool. It's just it's more it's kind of
you made it big time if you got haters already.
yeah. That's all I was
Fight,
like.
though.
I guess like
Yeah.
this is fine. I guess, but what the mental thing that I'm making sure that I don't fall into from just my own personality is like I don't have anything to prove to these people.
Yeah.
That's because I know the way I think, and like normally I would go into my next fight with like this mentality of like, okay, all right, I'm gonna prove to these guys that like this is not there's no bullshit. Like I didn't like I very conclusively I want it, but like in my head I'm just like, no, I won that fight. Like
it wasn't particularly close.
Yeah, like it like
you fight that guy 10 more times, you're gonna beat him 10 times.
I was like whoever you guys send to me next, like that, sure. Like but I don't know. I wanted to ask someone else if they had similar or some kind of something like that.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people is like Jeremy's a good example because he's very like outspoken and like in a good way. Like the dude can hype a fight and make shit happen. And it's like that does come with like a level of like pushback. You're gonna get that, and that's a good thing in this sport because like you just got to go out and prove it. And it's like we're fighting in a cage. Like what is more like pure and like conclusive and like obvious? Like there's not that much of like you're gonna like you can't deflate the football. You can't like you're just going in there to punch the dude in the face. Like there's no it's pretty cut and dry. It's like the most like 1 or 0 thing in the world. Like he won. Like there's some variance to it, and you'll have judges. I know there was a weird thing with Rafael's fight, like the first fight of the night. Yeah, like Mary, like 2 judges had completely different scorecards. So one person had it 3 rounds to Rafael, and the other guy had it 3 rounds to the other guy.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, well somebody's wrong.
Yeah,
like, somebody's got to be completely wrong there. So you're gonna get some variance with that, but I just don't. That fight, looking from my perspective, and I was pretty far away, but I was very much like in it, watching it, and I'm just like, there's not a controversy of like who's gonna win this fight.
Yeah.
Like it felt like you definitely took control and you definitely handled that completely. So
I felt that way as well. Like it wasn't one of those things where I was surprised, like when there is like I knew what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we'll get to that. I guess before we get slightly off of fighting, I want to remind people again, if you have questions or whatever, throw them in the chat. I'll try my best to like grab them. But yeah, if you have something that you want to know about any of the shit that we're talking about, feel free to ask a question, throw it in there. Mm-hmm. I guess my other question to you was, if you didn't do this, and I know you don't do this like professionally yet, but like I'm assuming that is one goal. Like obviously is to do it professionally. What do you think you would be doing if you couldn't fight?
I think a big part of it. So I do enjoy like the personal training aspect of fitness and stuff like that. I've had a lot of experience in that, and it's kind of been what I've used as like my like post to pursue fighting more, because I can like, if I'm working in a gym, I have access to a gym. So like I've used that for the last 5 years as like my way of gaining more knowledge about it, like knowing like how can I get better? What can I do to do that? So like as far as not competing, I think I would still have some vested interest in fighting, like some sort of, whether it be interviewing and like writing things, that like doing that kind of thing, that would be cool. Coaching obviously is a big one for me, because I do love coaching generally, even if it's like fitness related or fight related. And like the nutrition side of things has always been a big interest to me. So like helping people with that, I think acts of service is a big thing for me. And just like trying to help people in some general way. Whether that be like going and teaching free or seminars, or like being like a traveling person who gets to do those things, that would be really cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
And yeah, I have gotten so much from martial arts. Like it is 100% why I am the person that I am.
Absolutely.
So like, and I've always like try to be a good person, try to do right by people, and like this feels like the thing I do for myself. Like there's a lot of that, of just like I want to compete with myself. I want to prove to myself that, and that's why I think I'm successful at it, and why I think I'm good at it, is because I've never thought like there's a part of me that's like, oh, I want to show people what's up, but I also,
Yeah.
it's more so just like, how high can I really reach? Like, what does that look like? How do I stack up against those guys who are like, oh, I've idolized for a long
Yeah.
time, or like who you put into this like ungodly pedestal? Like you watch a guy like Israel Adesanya fight, and you're
Yeah.
like, that dude's a video game.
Yeah.
He literally looks like he's playing a video game all the time, and I'm like, that's insane. And like I've always said this, like if this is back when Yoel Romero was like a killer, I was like, if Yoel Romero walks in, I'm gonna see what we got. I'm gonna spar that dude. I don't know how it's gonna go,
Yep.
but I'm gonna figure it out. So it's just that like competitive drive to me, and I always am like conscious of that. Like that's always kind of been a driving force for me. So I think like that's the part of it that's like for me though, you know. But
Yeah.
nobody, none of my loved ones and family members, I'm sure, are like jacked up about me getting
Yeah.
in the cage and fighting. Because generally, they're like, hey, you could probably do something else.
Like
Just,
again?
yeah.
All right.
it's like you could probably be successful doing something else, but would I be as like motivated and dedicated to something else? Like I think genuinely, like whatever I put my mind to, I can do and accomplish, obviously in like that sense. But like I said, martial arts has given so much to me, and I love seeing people's progression. I love seeing how much better mentally, how much like better people can get from it. Even like saying it, like I don't know, I feel like we've been training together for a long time, and like seeing your skill progression, seeing like the difference in like people's mindsets based off of this stuff. Like I don't think people get how good it is. Like it's like mix of like yoga and meditation,
Yeah.
and like just like cardio respiratory exercise, and just like there's this different level of it that's just really really like spiritual.
It's hard to explain too.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why I like definitely recommend anybody listening to this, if they've never gone and taken a class and done something like that, because it's like, I mean, think about people like going and taking a dance class. It's just like that's kind of like nervous and nerve-wracking, and you put yourself into like this is kind of different, I don't do this often. It's the same thing like if you've never thrown a punch before and you go there and they're like, no, you gotta do that, and you're like,
Oh.
you're like, this is weird, why would I throw a punch? And it's like, well, because it's really therapeutic.
Yeah.
And like feels good, and like it makes you, you know, feel like confidence. Like it definitely has done that for me in like all of those different areas.
Same.
So
Yeah.
part of me like wants to give back to that in a way that's like, it's done so much for me, and I love seeing like what it does for other people too. And it's just like back to like kind of the beginning of our conversation of like, you could roll with a doctor or a lawyer or a garbage man or a guy who works at Publix, but like they're all going to get something totally different from it. But
Yep.
it's also, we all get the same thing from it, you know? So
That's something that I don't think I struggle with it as much as I used to, but I don't know how deep I want to get into this, but I also did see somebody had a question, but I guess I'll touch on a little bit. But essentially, one of the things that I struggled with a lot was like comparing myself to people a lot. I growing up, that's what I did. So going to the gym and doing this, there's definitely like, there was a lot of that at the very beginning when I first joined and I first started like, I don't know, training. But then there was that moment where like you were talking where you realize like you have no, like you interact with such a crazy array of different people that like it was stupid of me. It doesn't make sense to compare myself with it. Like you're comparing people like this crazy spectrum,
apples, oranges.
Yeah, like and then like once you move, or for me, once I moved past that, then it kind of became like, okay, you're comparing yourself to yourself. That's what you should be doing. And that was I don't know, that was like a lesson that took longer for me to learn, but I'm so happy that I learned it, and I don't know if I would have learned it at the speed that I did without fighting. It definitely accelerated that
ability to just be like, oh, we're all just kind of existing on
we're all
rock,
just
do what they do. And
Yep.
like whether you are a multimillionaire or like just a guy who likes training, it's just like, it's the same thing, you know.
All right, Michael Schmidt, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes, sir. Mikey,
Mikey,
what's up, buddy?
you have a question for
Michael.
us. Let's hear it.
Better not make some bullshit. I'll be so mad at you, Michael, if you make some.
The internet is a
ridiculous.
beautiful, beautiful
I'm gonna
place.
drive to Tampa. I swear to God. You spelled read wrong.
I know, I saw that. I was about to say that.
And you spelled my name wrong. My name is with a C. So I'm gonna roast you before you roast us.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's just the greatest thing of all time to me. I love that aspect of it. I just think it has so much to give to benefit to people that have those like ego issues or
Yep.
like, you know, like lack of humility or like respect for people. That's why like I feel like God willing, if I have kids, like they're gonna be in martial arts.
Yeah.
Like whether
Yeah.
they want to like
Yeah.
pursue it as a like
Sure,
I
yeah.
obviously wouldn't want I don't think I would want my kid to be a professional fighter and hopefully they don't have to or like
Yeah.
feel the need to, but to understand that respect and that like level of humility and like
Yep.
what it gives to kids and structure and confidence and like all those things. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks means a lot. I think you learn that, like people learn that through other things, but I have a feeling that it's different when it comes to fighting.
Mm-hmm.
There's something very like carnal about it that
Of course you want to.
but I don't know. I think the degree that you learn that humility and respect through fighting is just like there's a physical consequence to it almost.
Yeah.
And like when you attach that physicality to it and you expand that to other things in life, you almost keep the stakes even though it has nothing to do with fighting.
Yeah.
Like like I'll be just out and about and see somebody being shitty to somebody and just be like, hey man, chill, like relax, like no big. But it's part of that comes from like, hey man, chill, relax. You don't know if that dude could kill you. Like that dude might just like, hey, like also let's have respect for everybody, but also, hey, why would you? This is stupid.
Know,
like
you
like
don't know
you have no idea. Like
I feel that 100%. I think about that consistently. Like you read people and like see people in a different way for sure. Because you're like, okay, dude, like you're cool and you're tough. Like you're putting on this thing. You're trying to be shitty to somebody, but like you don't have to, and you're making that decision to be shitty for no reason. And like, yeah, that's just that like ego thing. I think that's like huge with a lot of people who don't get that humility of like a lot of people have never been punched in the face.
That's true.
Or like put into a position. Yeah, I think honestly, even on a different end of that, a lot of people like might get into a fight and you get punched in the face, but like if you've ever rolled with a black belt or a higher belt, and the people who don't know what it's like, think about like drowning, but there's no water, but you can't move. And you're like in a straitjacket at the bottom of the ocean. Like, that's what rolling with a black belt is like. You're like, oh, I'm completely helpless in this moment, and that's from somebody who has been doing this for 5 years and is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Like there are levels to this game that are like, you're just like, if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong time, you're completely screwed. And like, especially nowadays, like you could have a guy who is like a tech guy who looks like he's skin and bones, but he's a brown belt and he'll kill you. Like he could kill you, like, and it wouldn't be that hard for him. Like he's like a different thing.
Okay, Colby.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was cool. It was really random and so founded. I didn't think he would be at a random like regional fight, which was cool.
I heard apparently like he's around like the Miami-ish area.
Yeah,
and
I think
like
he's from that area. He's from South Florida.
Okay,
but
cool.
He trains in like what is it, like somewhere like near Miami essentially. But he somebody came in when me and my girlfriend were standing in line at the concierge to like get our hotel room.
Yeah.
And I think he like noticed that I had like a combat night shirt on. Excuse me. And then he was just like, hey, what time did the fight start? And I said, they started at like 4.
Yeah.
He's like, what time did the good fight start? And I was like, the pro card probably starts in like 45 minutes. He's like, oh, nice. And he was like, what would happen? Oh, my girlfriend was like held up my medal and was like, he just fought.
Yeah.
He won.
He won.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, nice, man. Well, I got Colby Covington out in his car right now. Let me come with me. I'll make your night. And like, he just like walked us out. And I was like looking back at her. I'm like, what is happening? What is it? I walk out and he's just sitting in his car, like in his SUV. And he was just like, hey, what's up, Colby? The manager was like, what's up, Colby? Hey, man, this guy just fought. He just got a nice win and all that. And he was like, man, congrats. Like shook my hand. And like, that's
pretty sick.
Seemed like a totally like normal dude. Yeah. He was like getting his takeout. So he had like,
he's like, I was about to eat. Like,
yeah, he like asked me if I had a wrestling background. I was like, no, but I did just wrestle a guy for 3 rounds. And, like, win. Yeah, so that was cool. And it's funny also because a couple of days later, the thing happened with Jorge Masvidal, and he like So it was just weird that happened, and then like a
Right
few days
before,
later,
yeah.
I was like, oh wow, that also happened. And like I know Mike Perry was there too.
Yeah, I heard
So
that as well.
that was interesting. He was like walking around. It's weird to see people like that because they just
Normal.
feel when they're out in the kit, you're like, that guy's huge. He's just a monster. And then I'm like standing in the car, and obviously he was like sitting down in his car, but I'm like, oh, you're just a normal sized person. Like, you walk around probably the same weight I do.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And same thing with like Mike Perry. I was just like, oh, that's just a guy. Yeah. And like I've had those experiences before training with like guys like Mickey Gall and Carl Roberson and a couple other Bill Algeo, he's a featherweight,
yeah.
but yeah, he's a beast out of Philly. And like training with those guys, you just do get that level of like these guys are amazing and really, really good, obviously, but
Yeah.
also they're just guys.
Yep.
Like just totally normal, like chill guys. And yeah, shouts out to all those people who I've been able to have the pleasure of training with, because it definitely gives you that confidence of like, oh, okay, like these guys have like, 10, 20 professional fights.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
a level of like, just insanity. And like he's a black belt and like, a legit black belt.
Yeah.
And you get to train with them and you're like, oh wow, like I didn't win any of those rounds, but I didn't get knocked out. That's
Yeah.
good. And like that's a cool thing. So yeah, it was cool to meeting Colby. It was very random, and like I said, he was just getting food. He was like getting his takeout, and he was just like, "What? Oh, hey man, good job, whatever."
Yeah, like, I'm trying to eat, man.
Yeah, and you're like, "Oh, you just fought a main event on a pay-per-view like 2 weeks ago. That's pretty wild." How was that?
And you just happened to appear here.
Yeah, it was just such a random like circumstance of events. And then,
I almost feel that like second hand or third hand, I don't know what the expression is actually. Sometimes when people meet Felicia, and I look at them, they're like, "Holy fucking shit! Do you know this?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Felicia, she's really
nice. It's very awesome."
Yeah, I think when I first came down here, because like part of when I moved down here, I was definitely researched. I was like looking at a bunch of different gyms, and I knew I was gonna move to Orlando, so I was like, "What's the best gym down here?" And like looking into it, I'm like, "Okay, I see multiple people with multiple UFC fights." Obviously, I knew who Felicia was, and I was like, "Well, realistically, like it seems like this gym is the best gym here." Like even after doing all the research, looking at Fusion and ATT and like all these other affiliate ones, I'm like, I think this is the move for sure. And like getting there, it was just an immediately like it fit, like the glove just fit, and I was like, oh, these guys are dope. I like these guys. And the same thing, like kind of also circling back to the beginning of the podcast of like talking about like how George St. Pierre is like this very like mild mannered, like nice, like totally normal person, and then also like a complete monster and savage. And, like I feel the same way about Felicia. I think initially when I came down here, I had that like, that's Felicia's best. Like, wild. She literally fought Cyborg and Nunes, and like that's insane. She's probably like she's one of the best female fighters of all time. So like you're just like, wow, that's a different thing. And like even Coach Mike like has a extensive MMA background, UFC, like has fought at the best, highest level, and you're just like, that's the people I need to be around. Like I want to experience that and like normalize that feeling a little bit more. And like it's cool. There's still like a little bit of that thing every time.
Oh yeah, it doesn't go away. He's like, oh yeah,
hey Felicia, how's everything going? And like it was funny being in the back room and seeing like other guys from other gyms come up and be like, hey, can I get a picture with you? Like all these things, and you're like, yeah, it's my teammate. Yeah, we train together.
Yeah, we train together.
Yeah,
just kick me in the face. Yeah.
She's 100%.
Yeah.
I think the first time we ever sparred, she kicked me in the face, and I was like, "Yep, that makes sense."
Yeah. Like, I remember, I think I've only I've probably sparred with her a couple of times now, but I remember the first time. I remember Coach Alec was always talking about like, yeah, Felicia can kick you in the head from standing like right here, and I was just like, I believe you, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And then I remember not even like 2 minutes in, or I guess probably 2 seconds in, like that sparring with her, she like boop, like kicked me. And I was like, yeah, shit, like you're right.
You're right.
You're right. Like she can do that.
She can do that.
She can and will do that. I was like,
and like the mentality and like ability that she has when even like in her last camp, I think we had some rounds together, and you're just like, she's just like next level mental, like mindset and like skill set. Like you're just like, she's literally been doing it. I think Coach Mike said she started with her when she was like 12 years old. It's nuts. Just, like you can tell like that level of mastery that is just so like fluid, and not like, I do think like as you get, the more fights you get, the more comfortable you get in that competitive space. And that's definitely a thing. And I'm just now at a point where 5 years into this, which is still like nothing in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of things. And I'm just like, I'm now starting to feel that comfortability in that, like, like, oh, I have a game plan. I have a way I want to go about this. I have like things I'm looking for. Like I've drilled this specific
Yep.
thing and I want to see that happen. Like those things, and like the amount of time that it takes to just develop that, and you just like feel when you're training with her that like she's just reading you, she's
Yep.
making these moves, she's making adjustments in live time. You're like, oh shit, I don't want to
Yeah.
go punch because I'm
Yeah.
gonna get hit in the head.
Like I am going to get countered here.
Yeah,
Like, I
every
know
time.
I like it is pretty sick. Real quick, what are you playing nowadays, video game wise? Yeah.
Usually when I do, it would be with like my roommates. I like Smite a lot. Play Smite.
I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Smite
Oh,
is
yeah.
fun. Big fan of that. I really need to like dive back in a little bit more because I love it's very like true to who I am, but like the competitive aspect of it. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of times that's usually where I get, but I will get lost into like, I used to love Skyrim a lot. I used to get lost in those. So I've thought about like what the hell's the new game that just came out? That's
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I've thought about that a little bit getting into it, but I feel like if I get into it, I'm gonna get lost and then I'm never
Yeah.
gonna get back.
Like I don't get like completely sucked into games anymore unless like it's a competitive thing and I'm decent at it. Like when Michael's
got you a win on Fortnite. I heard they got rid of building.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that they took building out of Fortnite for a little bit. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I heard that they changed that up, which is Apex. Apex is my
I love
shit.
me some Apex.
Yeah, we should definitely play Apex
Yeah.
at some point because that game, I love the cooperative aspect of like competing and like being on a team
Yeah.
and like having like do this, having like that strategic
Yep.
thing happening.
Team comps and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
And the games are like fast enough. Like the thing with like League and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't have time to have that much.
I just can't get into those type of games anymore.
Yeah.
I used to. Like I played like Heroes of New Earth, like League, like all the MOBAs. I tried Dota for a little bit. Like I played all those games, but I don't have it in me anymore.
Yeah, and then you don't play enough to be good enough, and then it just pisses me. For me, like especially like Skyrim, I can jump in an arena and just have fun and just kill people and do that. But then it's like these guys know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly when to kill this and that, and they know like their team. They're like, so you're like the same thing with Fortnite because I played that probably season 2 to like 4 when it was like really like the height of it. And I got to a point where I was relatively good at it. But once building became like an essential, like you have to know how to window edit and wall edit, do all these different things that kids have these specific mouses for that they can just
macro.
it's just like an immediate like walled up. They're up like 10 stories, and you're like, I just have a wall and a ramp. Like, shit. So like I definitely get discouraged at not putting in enough time. Same thing with Apex. Like after a little bit, a few weeks of playing like a consistent enough basis. I've heard that it like the first boss takes like 100 tries to even get through, and it's just like the frustration in me would just be like this shit.
Those Souls games, man, they're fun, but there's definitely a point. There's like walls in that game where you get to it and you're just like, I don't know what the fuck to do to get past this.
Yeah.
And like that frustration of me, like, oh, I tried this and I tried this and I tried this and then none of it works. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. And you don't want to be the guy that's like looking it up and like trying
to
find, but you're also like, I want to continue playing this game. So like I want to,
Usually what happens to me with games like that is I get to that wall, I will stop playing that game for years, and then like randomly I'll pick it up like years later. I'm like, yeah, this game's pretty good. Everybody's like, yeah, like we all played this like 7 years ago. I was like,
good.
Dude, have you ever played like I'm that guy that's like, yo, did you ever play Borderlands? And they're just like, yeah.
What is wrong with
you?
Play Destiny ever? It's like
it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
for sure. It's funny that I have so many friends who are like legitimately good, like high level like League, or I think I told you my buddy Matt Benny. If anybody's on Twitch, go follow Sploofa. He's my boy.
Shout him out.
He does competitive Apex and competitive like Rocket League.
Nice.
I had fun playing
Rocket League.
League
is fucking hard.
until motherfuckers started flying around and doing backflips.
I can't do like I love that game, but like every time I watch somebody just like, yeah, I'm just like coasting this ball like through the air, I'm like,
and then they do like the stops and like you hit and it just frustrates the absolute shit out of you.
How do you do that? And then they like, oh yeah, it's just this, and then you're like, I did what you just told me to do.
It
I did
didn't
not do
happen.
that. Like,
You just did a 360 spin backflip and you tapped it with the like spoiler of your car and you barely knocked it in. Like, so when I see people like at that level, it's like it's cool to me. I actually like watching streams. I
Yeah.
think a little bit more than I enjoy playing
Yeah.
it. Like that's how I was even in like the Fortnite days. I would be like watching Myth play and watching
Yeah.
like these different guys, and I'm like they're entertaining and it's cool to watch people that are at that high of a level because I think you said that too. Like you like seeing people who are that good.
Yeah.
Like I want to see people who
yeah.
are
What does that look like? I'm like, oh shit, that's what that looks like.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So like I think no, Apex is definitely in my opinion like the most fun game that I have playing. But like I haven't played it enough, and now I'm like shit. I gotta play a bunch of games. I gotta get back to a level where I don't feel like I'm terrible at it. Like my mechanics are all off on the controller and stuff like that.
Coach Alec was shout out to his channel too, by the way. He's been streaming the last
yeah.
couple of
Go watch that.
weeks. Yeah.
Him and Kenny and
Yeah.
and Seven going
Yeah.
nuts on stream.
I
I'm sure.
that was like I hadn't played Arena in a minute, and they were playing Arena on stream, and I hopped into the game. He's like, "Yo, hop in," and I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm about to just get
mopped the entire
destroyed."
time.
Like I was like, but I was like, "Ah, fuck it, let's do it. We'll have some fun." But yeah, no, it's a good time.
Yeah, I definitely prefer. Like, I'm not the kind of person who can jump on and just solo and just play. Like, I want to have people to play with. I want to have like a conversation during it. I can't just be like in my own shit, just playing game after game.
It's weird. Like I try to do that a lot of times with, especially with Apex. I'll be like, I'll play like a game or two, and I'll solo queue, and then maybe the first game will be like pretty fun. And I'm like, all right, good time. And I have to have like something else playing. I'll have some YouTube video or podcast or something playing in the background. And then that second and third game is when I get tilted because I'll get like some teammate that's just
Garbage.
like either trash or just off doing their own thing, whining about the fact that like somebody picked a character that they wanted to play. It's just like
you're not even doing X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, it's just
it's like, well, you're not cooperating.
Yeah,
at all. And
it's like
yeah, that's definitely a thing. I genuinely am just like either be cool and like have a good time and enjoy it, and we'll actually like try to win this shit because I don't want to just mess around and like figure it out. You know, I'd rather just be like, let's try to win every game for sure, but not like so serious. And you'll definitely eventually like certain times you meet a guy, you play a few games with them, you win like consistently back to back, and you're like, oh shit,
so,
this is fun.
Yeah,
this is good. Let's keep winning.
When you add this dude as a friend, like but that is a great last question. When is your next fight? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, I do think they mentioned that their next pro
the 21st and
July. I think.
Okay.
The soonest one I think is April. They do them pretty consistently. I know there's like Fort Lauderdale. There's like a bunch of different ones. The next Orlando big one I think is July.
I thought it was in May.
There is one in May. I think that's an AMI.
Oh, okay, cool.
But their next like pro am I think is July. It's like the third weekend in July or fourth weekend in July. And like for me, right now my focus is definitely on like getting prepared to get to that because you know like financially all these different things you gotta. I'm not getting paid for this shit.
Yeah,
I gotta figure out a lot of other stuff to get me. I already shouted you out. Shout out to all of the Schmidts for watching this, the Schmidt house in Tampa. Thank you guys. But yeah, it'll probably be July, so it'll give me a little bit of time to work and get. So you also like fighting consistently and like back to back to back is definitely good for like momentum and stuff like that. But you also got there's a lot of skill development that has to happen that you can't really do in camp because you're just like in camp,
right?
You have a couple of things that you focus on and then you do like harp on those, and those are like the main points of camp. But like also in between that's where a lot of the development happens. That's where a lot of the growth happens. And for me, I did 6 months between my last fight and this fight, and that was because it would have been September was my last fight. So I lost. So it's like you sit on that for a while and you're like, you're coming off of a loss for a while, and that mentality sucks. Like having that feeling is not fun. So coming off of a win now, I'm like, okay, what are the next couple of steps or the next things that I add? So like, I know you mentioned therapy, and I actually did the same thing for this game. So I've been seeing the therapist like once a week, and it is super helpful.
I highly recommend. Like
referential definitely was like 3 different things that I did for that camp that made a huge difference. Was like that, my nutritionist, and just like my discipline as far as like cutting out a lot of like bullshit and just being like boring. Just being like, no, I can't do this because I'm trained. Like I can't do this. I gotta train. I can't do this. I can have one night where I go out and have some fun, but
Yep.
I got to train tomorrow.
Yep.
Like, you know, like that's just that different level of like, no, it's getting serious. All these guys are going to be good. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to fight any guys who aren't good
Yeah.
now. Like, I'm already at that point now where every guy I fight is going to be good and they're going to be coming for me to win, you know, especially coming off of a win at a big card like that.
Yeah.
So
Definitely got a lot of eyes looking at you.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So I got to make sure that that's in the back of my head in a good way. That's like, keep going. Like we're there, we're getting there, but we're not there yet. You know,
Yeah.
so adding in like the couple of things that I think would be good. So I go back, I look at my whole fight, I analyze it, take the goods, the bads, and take the, like Coach Mike usually says, take like 2 or 3 things max from your fight and go with that. So my last fight was like, obviously I got to fix my grappling a little bit. Like I got to work on that. So that's what I did. So like it made a huge difference. And I think I made leaps and bounds in that aspect of it. So now it's like, what else can I do? Add into this next camp coming forward, like whether it's yoga is a big thing. I'm thinking like I want to do that consistently, increase my flexibility.
Alec was talking about that.
Yeah. So I want to do those types of things, just figuring that out, give myself like a month or 2 of training and consistency and like skill development, and also more focusing on like financial stuff and that, like having a little bit of a balance for me is big, because if I'm only ever thinking about it gets like, you just get burnt out, and anybody who says they don't is fucking lying.
Yeah,
it's like
I've not been doing this as long as you, and I definitely have felt that at times. Like I remember like in that first year I was just like, damn, this is it, this is all I'm gonna do. Like you're not gonna, like, I stopped doing the podcast, like I stopped streaming, like I stopped doing it. I was just doing it. I was like, okay, hold on, like you need to
take a step back, still do, because like a big thing, I have a mental performance coach who I've worked with since I've been in PA. He's my buddy. Shout out to Matt Marcinic. He's my boy, and he's been with me since like day one. And he's a really good guy who's good at like the mental performance aspect of stuff. And like he's always said, like, you're a fighter when you're a fighter. Like when you walk into the gym, when you put your gym clothes on, when you get in there, you are Lucas Larue, the fighter, the guy who is a fucking killer, a badass, like all those things that are important. But you're also a lot of stuff outside of that. You know, you're a son, a brother, a boyfriend, a friend. Like you're a lot of other things. So like make sure that you still maintain those things too. Yeah, because that helps like with the burnout and like the grind aspect of it. So it's a balance for me for sure, and it's worked out for me thus far.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Well, thank you for doing this, man. Absolutely, this has been awesome.
This was so much fun.
Every time I do it, I remember how much fun I have doing these, and like I remember thinking to myself, the episode before this, and I was just like, I wonder what this is gonna be like when I start getting some of these fighter guys on here, because it's just a different feel, and it's a different aspect of my life that I don't really talk about that much. Like, but it's awesome. I know I've been talking to a couple other guys from our gym that I want to get them on, because I think especially there's like so many cool different personalities there too, which 100%. Is so fun. Like Jeremy, I think is probably the next guy I'll have on. I can
have to have him on for sure. He's the number one priority.
It needs to happen.
That's gonna be a hell of a conversation. He's just gonna go into it. This just a great dude to have on for sure. You're gonna get so many different mixed bags, which is the greatest part about this shit. You're just gonna get so many personalities and different. Christian would be a fun guy.
Oh God, yeah. No, that would be good.
Beautiful.
Oh man. But yeah, thanks again. Thank you for everybody tuning in. Appreciate it. You know, YouTube, Spotify, that's where this is. Just about anything podcast. You can type it in, look it up. Thanks again, Lucas. Appreciate it, man.
Victory lap.
Yeah.
Hell jungle.
Woohoo. Where's Oh my God! All right, yes. All right, that's it. We're out. We're on that note. I'll say this really quickly. There's a thing. Actually, I'm going to ask you this question now. I was going to end everything, but now this is your fault. I just want you to know that Hannah Thantos is. So, if you can, fucking flying it. Jackie Chan, current age Jackie Chan, he's literally butt naked. And there's an arena, there's just dirt. You have one weapon of your choice, and you're fully clothed like a normal human being. Do you beat him? Like, can you beat him? Current Jackie Chan. You're fighting to the death.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, this is what I've been telling people many times. Like,
honestly, though, 22-year-old Jackie Chan.
Maybe, yeah, sure.
That's another question. He's a hell of an athlete and like a legit martial artist, but today's Jackie Chan, I'm beating the shit out of Jackie Chan, and I would never want to do that because I love Jackie Chan.
He's a great person. Awesome. Yeah. But okay, on that note, we're gonna call it a night. Thank you so much again for watching everything. I'll see you guys next time.